Hey everyone, welcome back to the second video of Crescent Revamped. So a little recap of last week. We introduced the camera and the tile map system so that we were able to create levels a lot easier. This week we have a little bit more to, showcase. So to start off, we have the little map selector here, or level selector, with these little each individual dots here. So far, there's only one that actually works. We still need to make the other four. But just to showcase, just to show how this works. So the player starts off. He loads into the map here, and then he slowly makes his way to each individual level here. So how he actually enters a level, you could either press enter on the keyboard or A or square, depending on what kind of controller you're using. So there you go. I'm loaded into the first level. As you can see, we also added like a bit to the scenery. I added a windmill here. I thought it would look cool just in the background. Oh, I guess I guess the new edition got spoiled already. The enemies already following me, as you can see. We added some enemy AI here. Uh, Compared to the last Crescent demo or Crescent prototype, I like the way these enemies were made, because in the last prototype it was using triggers, whereas here I calculated the distance between the player and the enemy, and depending on the range, the enemy would follow you. I also added kind of like a hit detection, so if I get hit I fling back, or if I hit them, it kind of gives me an indication, and if I hit them hard enough it flings them as well. So there's that. Let me see what else I could show you guys. The rest of the map here, there's a lot of the same enemies being showed. Oh yeah, there's also, if you go beyond their range, so let's say this enemy follows me right here, but I go too far, then it begins to walk back to its original position here. And boom, it's back to where it was. Yeah. So let's try that again. Let's make them follow me all the way here. Oh. And he's coming back. Now he's back to where he was. Going all the way back home. Alright, there you go. And then there's also, I believe it wasn't in the last video, but there's also the moon here that I guess we call Crescent. We got him to move up and down so it didn't look kind of stale just following him around. It actually looks like he's got a little bit of movement to him now. And another addition is we actually, if you guys didn't pick up on when I first started the game, like when I first played this right now, I referred to the controller. We're actually working on the some controller support. So I actually got a controller in my hands right now. If you guys, if you guys can't hear that, all right. So I'm personally using a PlayStation controller, but it also supports Xbox. So with the PlayStation controller, we got the jump working, we got the attack working, we got the camera stuff working here. Yeah, that's just about it. That's all the mechanics, or a majority of the mechanics, uh, that needed to be implemented into controller input. Uh, so I guess we'll just continue on to the level. There's a lot of mobs here we have to fight. Oh, that was a long... Uh-oh. Getting tag teamed. Oh, there you go. Da, da, da. We should be about halfway there now. So there's this like big building just sitting here, and then we also have some boxes here. So with this, you could actually climb these little boxes, and as you see, the enemy also follows us. Oh, maybe not. Maybe he's having a little trouble there. Okay, there you go. Alright, so then we have the enemy following us up here. Oh. He's having trouble there. Oh, there we go. And then there's like little secrets we have here. So here we just have a key. Oh, I guess he's going back. Alright. So I guess we have a key here, which would help with unlocking doors and stuff in the game. Oh. Come up here, you little slime. We'll fight it up on the staircase. Let's go. Oh. There it is. There you go. There's a lot more slimes to go through. But as for the next updates, we're planning on adding some other characters, and cause we have a lot of I don't know if you guys can see this. We have a lot of enemies to put into the game. As you can see here, these are all enemies we still need to include. So far we only have 2 in there. We also want to add projectile enemies as well. There's that. We decided not to add a tutorial level yet because not all the mechanics are done. But I guess after I go through this level real quick, I'll show you how the I guess the biggest part of this video is the enemy AI. I'll show you how we got that done. Okay. And I think this should be the second last enemy. There you go. There you have it. Oh, maybe not. Okay. And then, oh wow, there's a lot of enemies. Okay. Sometimes you just start copying and pasting these enemies and you don't know how much you guys included in there. So as you see, there's like a lock here. So now that we collected the key, we could actually go through the lock and progress to the next level, but instead it takes us here and you're able to select the next level. As of now, we don't have a second level, but we plan on making a couple more in the next update. So as you see, I'm like pressing enter, pressing square here, or A, and it won't let me through to the second level. But to explain how the enemy works, I guess, we used polymorphism, and then so we have a base enemy script. Let me go to level 1 real quick. So what these slimes are using are green slime scripts, but they're inheriting from the base enemy script essentially. So under green slime, you see we only have the animator component, and then start enemy script under start, and then update enemy script under update, and then to check if the health is below 0 or equal to 0, then just destroy the object, destroy the enemy. So under start enemy script, we set a couple of variables. We have distance. This is to calculate between the player's x coordinates, between the player and the enemy's x coordinates. So it subtracts between the two, and then the height, which is subtracting from the player's height in comparison to the enemy's height. So he's subtracting. So in Unity, this would be player dot transform dot position dot y subtracted by the enemy transform dot position dot y. In a way, we could also not even have a height variable and just include it under distance, because all we calculate under distance as of now is the x coordinates. I believe it's under update. We also have the left follow range and then the right follow range. So the left follow range is to detect whether or not the enemy should like what the range should be where the enemy starts following the player on the left side, and then the same for the right side, which is why we have two variables there. So if the distance is lower than 25 or negative 25, or I guess greater than negative 25 if the player is coming closer here, then here, wait, let me, yeah, so here it is. So if the player, so at first it checks if there's a player, and then depending on the enemy, so here we have it labeled as enemy 19, which is this. It changes its speed, and then its health depending on what type of enemy it is. So that should be under here, speed health, which is enemy 5. Enemy 5 is a little quicker, but it has a little less health. Enemy 5 is this little thing right here. So to talk about the, I guess, following, having the enemy AI following us, so it checks for the player, it checks for the tag, and then it checks if the distance is either sorry, I'm a little sick. It checks if the distance is less than the left follow range, which is 25. So if I were to print the distance right now, so if I were to print the distance in the console, distance, there you go. So this should print to my console right here. Let's go through that. So as you see here, there's a couple of variables being printed. These are all based off how many enemies there are. But as the closer I get, you see as the closer I get, you see the distance is becoming more and more slim. And for this one, I guess my distance was lower than 25 along the x-axis. It doesn't really showcase it here, but if I were to delete all the rest of these enemies here. Delete, delete, and then delete. Double check which one this is. Enemy 5 and 1. So just delete all these. And then you get a much closer distance. And let's say I were to reset this because I got trapped in a corner there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so as you see here, the distance is 40, 30, 20. It's at 25, and as soon as I get lower than 25, as soon as the distance gets lower than 25, that's when the enemy starts following. As you see here, I'm at 11, 7, and then the same for the right side here. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. I'm at currently -2. Let's say I were to drag this out. I'm at -50. And then as soon as it goes below -25, the enemy starts following me on the right side now. Now to determine my range as well, so through my range, I guess, it also determines whether or not it should go back to where it originally was. So there, otherwise, so it detects what kind of enemy it is, and then it changes its position using vector 3 move towards. So it takes the initial position of the enemy and then it goes to the player at a certain speed. And then otherwise, if it's not following the player, then it just goes back to where it initially was. So the enemy's current position and then the initial position that was set during the start of the game, which should be right here, and then right here for enemy 5. So yeah, that's the following the player. As for the jumping, it checks if the height of the player is greater than 0, and it also checks if the enemy has jumped already. So we created a debounce boolean there. So if height is greater than 0 and enemy jump is equal to false, then add a force of 5.5 to the y-axis. Make enemy true. Start a coroutine of enemy can jump, which we called enemy can jump, and then wait for 1 second. Yield return new. Wait for seconds. 1 second here, and then enemy jump equals false. The reason why we use a coroutine is because it allows us to easily create a wait for seconds here, so it doesn't instantly disable the debounce. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be a debounce, because a debounce, there's a certain I guess you have to wait for it to turn false or true. So if we go back to the height here, where is it? Height. So if height equals greater, then if we just did this, so as soon as the enemy jump was set to true and we just set it to false, enemy jump equals false, then the enemy would instantly be able to jump again. So because it checks if the enemy can jump, I guess, or which is false in a way. So if it's false, the enemy can jump. So if we set it to true, but then right under it we set it to false, then the enemy just starts flying all over the place. I could show you what that looks like, just for experimental reasons. Okay, so we don't really need this, I guess, to showcase this. So save that, restart the level. So replay this, take the player, and the best spot to showcase this would be where the boxes were. See that? I don't know if you guys saw that, but the enemy literally just took off like a spaceship. He's right there. Okay, and now he's coming back down. But as you can see, the jumping doesn't really make sense. Like the slime is just flying. So that's where the debounce was coming into play. So it made a little bit more sense when it came to the physics aspect. As you see here, there's a slime trying to come up here. That slime just took off. Yeah, so I think the debounce is deserved for something like this. Okay, let me just reset this. There you go. Back to normal. So that should be everything other than the fling. These were in the old Crescent prototype. It just adds a force to the X and Y axis. And then it changes the sprite renderer's color, so the enemy's color here. So if I were to go under the enemy, let's say this one, I'm able to change its color. So this is what it looks like when it gets hit. It changes it to completely red, which is 255 and then 00. If you don't understand how the color system works, it's essentially R, which stands for red, G, which stands for green. So this is like basically how much of each, I guess, strength of color you want to change, or how much color you want in general. And then the last one would be B, which is blue. So RGB. So when I hit the enemy, I completely change it to red. And then I wait about a quarter of a second, and then I change it back to white, which is initially what it is. Changing it to white doesn't actually change it to white. Like, if you look in the game, it's set to white, but the enemy isn't actually white. This is because the enemy was already colored before being put into Unity. So if this was originally like a white object, then yeah, it would make a little bit more sense. I could probably show you guys this. I believe we have some white shapes we could show you guys. Yeah, so under shapes, as you see, these are white shapes. So with how these color change works, if your shape or asset was originally white, then it would be more accurate when you would change the color. So as you see here, it could get really bright red, you can get really bright pink, you can get really bright blue, cyan, green, yellow, and then as soon as you go back to white, it actually turns white. But since this was actually changed using something like Photoshop, like the color was already changed, the white won't really do anything to it. And the color, when you change the color, it isn't as accurate or bright. As you see, it's getting a little dark, even though it's on the bright side of things. But yeah, that should be it. Sorry. That should be it for this update. The next update, we're probably, as I said again, we're probably going to expand on the enemies again. We're probably going to add in a little bit more enemies. We only have 2 so far. We have a bunch in our folder though, so we could definitely expand on that. Hopefully create some more levels. and then maybe work on the combat system a little more. We were thinking about adding a little parry system, like a parrying system for projectiles. So maybe, hopefully, we could get that out as well. But that should be it for this update. Hope you guys enjoyed that video, and hopefully my coughing didn't bother you guys all that much. I'll catch you guys for the next update.